The following game has no ESRB rating, nor is there any sort of listing for restrictive content found within the game. From what I've seen so far, it does contain space combat, explosions, ships on fire, and what the game considers strong language, although I don't believe that language is considered cursing in modern day civilization terms, but it's still there, and the meaning, I believe, is readily visible, if not overtly listed as such. That being said, if I were to guess as to what its rating would have been, I would say it would most likely have been rated T for teen by the ESRB. So, given that assumption, and again, it is assumption, so of course, viewer discretion is advised, I recommend anyone under the age of 13 not watch the following video. You have been warned. Greetings and salutations, I am Outlier and I bid you welcome to this channel. Joining me today is of course my usual co-hosts, Snowball and Wolf. And today we are turning back to Starhammer the Vanguard Prophecy. No, this is not a building game. Yes, I'm sure. Because I've played this game before and know what it's about. Yes, I do play a lot of games where you build things. This, however, is not one of them. So the premise of Starhammer the Vanguard Prophecy is that it's a starship tactical combat game where you command a strike group of spacefaring naval vessels known as Strike Group 7, I believe is the official in-game term. And you do various missions as part of your world space navy. And while so far, if you haven't seen any of the prior episodes, I've been fighting a bunch of rebels and pirates, there is also an alien species out there known as the Nautilid, who in the past have attacked our planet in what's known as the First Contact War. And after the war, they basically up and disappeared. And I don't think anyone really knows where they went. But just as mysteriously as they disappeared, they've since reappeared. So, I mean, I've only had to fight them once so far, and I don't actually know what their motivations are, or even what they were. So, it's still up in debate at that point. And if you haven't seen the last episode I made of this video game, I had to guard a salvage vessel from the rebels/pirates as the salvage team basically attempts to scrap or salvage, reclaim an old battleship that, or I guess it was a cruiser or destroyer, that was taken out by the rebels in the initial first mission. And at the end of that, I have an option between two different choices. This game has a branching storyline, so which options I choose depends upon which of the storylines, I guess, endings I get. I think that's how branching storylines work. I played this game before, yes. Never said I actually finished it. In fact, before I started making videos of this game, I only ever actually completed
the initial tutorial missions, so I have absolutely no idea what's going to happen next. But as I said, branching storyline, two options. One of them is to continue to protect the salvageers as they take apart the cruiser, and my other option is to proceed on to a different terrain area, where in the second mission, the rebels took out an allied corvette of our character's friend, or I guess colleague. I'm not entirely certain if they were friends or if it was just simply some sort of weird rivalry or something going on. But anyway, so the second option is to basically leave the salvage engineers to fend for themselves as I go and secure the other crash site, derelict, destroyed, most likely still burning wreck. Probably not still burning. I think it's in space and there's no air in space to burn. So basically, I can either protect the salvage engineers while they reclaim the current wreck, or I can move on to secure a second one. But that would leave the engineers open to attack if the rebels decide to double back. And that's where I left it, and that's where I'm going to be continuing. And thusly, this game is of course made by... Thank you again. And that being said, let us begin.
Okay, so this is the planet that we operate out of. This is where the mission that we completed last episode was, and these are the two options that I have. I can either do perimeter work, where it's a defensive mission, and it's my first chance to stretch the legs of an Albatross-class frigate, our current command vessel. And of course, I'm confined to babysitting a crew of NGs picking at the remains of my ex-commander's flagship. Not to sound flippant about where we are, but 7 hours in the one spot is making the entire strike group a little stir crazy. The commandant doesn't seem to think there's any reason we can expect another attack, but is insistent that command is demanding a defensive perimeter around the scene until we're relieved and can move on to Dale's wreckage. And I need to protect the salvage crew from all threats, or I can do mission Forward Tilt, where its mission is described as aggressive. This is my first, and possibly last, chance to play with an Albatross frigate. Might handle like a wayward bathtub, most large ships usually do, and that's putting it nicely, but these holes were some of the first boats crunched after first contact. That's the war with the Nautilids. Or the first war with the Nautilids, I should say. The sheer amount of steel and kinetic fuel generated beneath my feet reeks of the fear of the squids put in us when they first showed up. The salvage crew NGs are professionals, and we could do to scout ahead to make sure that Dale's wreckage site is clear for the second crew. Chances are, if the scouts are willing to risk a firefight with a strike group for parts from a cruiser that dates prior to first contact, they'll certainly take their chances to pick a 3-year-old Corvette chassis clean. I'll couch it as a training exercise, show my assertiveness in deploying preemptive contact measures. Build stock like an officer, and command will swallow it right up. I might even earn myself a promotion. And the objective is to scout ahead for any hostiles on the way to the Nemo 4 wreckage. So, those are the two options, and part of me does think it would be smarter to protect the salvage engineers, just simply because I'm not one for aggressive tactics usually.
Okay, yeah, that is kind of true.
Although they don't think that they can expect another attack, but what's the phrase goes? Military intelligence is an oxymoron. Nothing against the actual military. It's just intelligence is only as good as the source that it comes from, and like military plans, never survives first contact with the enemy. So I can protect the salvage crew, but part of me actually wants to press forward and secure the wreckage, because as the briefing or a captain's log states, if they were willing to fight to the death for an old cruiser, then they'll probably want an even newer, albeit smaller ship, just as much, if not more so. So this is the mission that I'm willing to go with. Okay, so this is the fleet deployment screen. Before every mission combat, I can deploy my fleet however I want. I currently have 4 vessels deployed out of the possible 5 that I have. One is the Albatross Pound Cake, the frigate that serves as my flagship. The Nemo-class Biscuit, which is my old flagship, but now I guess I want to say backbone of the fleet, but that's more the frigate as well. Basically, it's the other heavy hitter. And then I have 2 swordfish, the honey and the jam, with the butter sitting off in reserve. The swordfish are basically there to provide... Well, actually, they're there to take up space because I don't have any other bigger ships. And if I could field 5 vessels, the butter would also be going along. Now, I can also request reinforcements, although I only get so many reinforcement points, and I only have 50, and the smallest vessel, the Swordfish class Raider, costs 110, so I'm not actually going to get any reinforcements anytime soon. Another Corvette would be 200, and that's really my only options right now, neither of which I can actually get. And last mission, I had the Swordfish up above and down below the frigate, just to serve as... Actually, I have absolutely no idea what the purpose was to serve as. I think it was more of it just looked amusing to me, as opposed to fighting on a 2D plane. I had the smaller, faster, more nimble ships slightly above and below the main vessel. I mean, it worked the last time, and as I said, plans never survive first contact with the enemy, so this formation will disperse as soon as the mission starts, so let's start the mission. Alright, so forward tilt. This is my fleet. Alright, scout the route to the Nemo 4 wreckage. And having Jinx, I wasn't paying attention to what he was saying. I'm supposed to click to expand. Marks are in visual range, Commander. They don't look like the painted junk raiders from before. No, they're nautilids. There can't be more of them. Don't get squeamish on me now, Ensign. This lot will take holes from our turret fire just like the others before them. Weapons Live Strike Group, let's test this frigate on some squids. So, this time we're fighting some nautilids, as opposed to raiders. Okay, it's been a while since I played this game, so... I'm going to need to remember the controls. So, currently right now... I have what look to be 3 nautilids inbound. Will appear to be all Krill class, which I'm assuming are their smaller vessels. Of course, that's only the first wave, I guess, and I have to go all the way from here to, well, from here all the way to there. So there's probably going to be more showing up relatively soon. As I was going to say, movement works in that everything moves forward in cinematic mode in between turns. So right now it's not cinematic mode, so I have to decide where my fleet is going to go. And I do that by grabbing this wireframe silhouette that's tied to the actual ship, and anywhere within this little trapezoidal cone shape is how far the ship will move in a turn. So if I put it all the way forward, the frigate will move to there. Same with the Corvette, whereas the Swordfish will move that way. And for now, I don't see much reason to break with formation, so there's a way to see everybody's firing arcs all at once. Guess not. Anyway, end turn, and let's watch the battle unfold. Well, for now. Okay, so they actually have a decent range. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to shove power into the shields so that way they start recharging. Slightly, but they're starting to recharge. Shields haven't taken that too much of a hit, so it should be relatively fine, but the primary guns on the Corvette are to the fore, so let's have the Corvette or the biscuit I should say, turn into the krill. The pound cake, however, is primary guns. The blue cone is this ion cannon, I believe, laser, but the primary guns are, well, to the sides. So we'll have the pound cake move this way to hopefully get the krill within this arc. And then the swordfish will only have a front arc, basically turn this way, to hopefully get their laser cannons onto the krill as well. And just for reference, the biscuit also has an aft arc as well, but nothing to the sides. So. It also has missiles, but I can't refill missiles until after the mission grouping is done. And by grouping, I don't mean this mission, I mean the entire segment, which is basically the last mission, this mission, possibly the next mission, up until we can go back to base, basically the whole chapter. So for however many missions I have to play through, the biscuit has 12 missiles to play with. So they get used sparingly, or unless you are only against big targets, which the krill I do not believe count as. So let's see what happens. Okay, so there's actually 4 krill, not 3. And one's slightly injured, one's healthy, 2 are healthy and one's injured. So okay, so it looks like it's got 12 out of 20 health. So I mean, if I turn the biscuit this way, the krill are probably going to slam into it. But if I turn it in any other direction, it'll be out of its forward arc. However, they keep moving in this direction, they should enter the aft arc of the biscuit. Whereas the swordfish, I'll have them swing around to hopefully catch the nautilids as they fly past, assuming the nautilids, of course, don't turn themselves. Then I'll have the pound cake turn this way to hopefully, if they keep moving in this direction, hopefully keep the port side guns on them. Alright, so let's see how this goes. Alright, so, I mean, they basically did things. Shields for the pound cake seem relatively fine. And I'll have the pound cake turn this way. Hopefully the nautilid will turn towards the pound cake leftwise, or at least what passes for its left, which should keep it in the starboard weapons fire arc, although knowing me, it'll probably turn to the right and manage to escape out of the arc. Of course, the swordfish, I can have, which one is this? The honey, swing back around to face this nautilid over here, and then I can have the jam, if I can select it, swing back around to chase after these, whereas the biscuit turns back this way. Yeah, that looks like a plan. Whether or not it's a good plan is entirely up to the question. Interesting. I didn't think that this krill, can't remember the name, didn't think this krill would actually turn left, but it did, and it flew out of the pound cake's starboard arc, but flew into its bow arc and got hit with the ion cannon. So we have the pound cake swing back around this way. It might get the krill back into its ion cannon arc, and I can move the biscuit over here, so that way if the krill moves this way, the front arc of the biscuit should swing into it, and if it swings this way, well, it'll pass through the arc. The honey comes back this way, because there's nothing over here right now. And then the jam swings back over here because 2 of the nautilids decided to fly off over this way. And they still got this one over here, which is severely injured. It's got 4 health points left. Okay, so Jinx is coming in with a message. Sir, resistance is increasing closer we get to the Nemo 4 wreckage. Report the recon and clear our marks instead. If we're going to get in trouble for breaking objective, we can at least do a good job of it. And that's it. Okay. So this krill is dead, as is this one. So they took out 2 krill. Have the pound cake swing back over this way. Hopefully keep the 2 remaining krill in its still port arc. Have the biscuit swing this way. You know, I'll put them over here because it looks like the krill are heading in this direction. So, which means they're either going to fly off this way or fly off this way. And if they fly off this way, I guess to get behind the pound cake, the biscuit should be able to, well, still cover that. And I'll have the swordfish swing back around, because they can only fire at things in front of them. Oh, there's more targets. Four more krill have joined the fray. Did I say 4? Make that even more. Yes, that does rhyme. So we got now, I would say 12 enemies, but 2 of them are already dead. Slightly injured, healthy, and healthy. So let's swing the pound cake this way, see if we can get, well, both groups into both port and starboard arcs. I think the port and starboard guns can fire independent of each other, but I'm not 1% certain. The biscuit will wheel around to face the new threats, whereas the honey and the jam will chase after the injured ones. So let's see how this goes. Alright, so they killed another one, and then this one is severely injured. It's got 6 health left. So I'm going to pull the honey off of chasing it, and have it swing back around this way. The jam, however, will keep moving forward. Hopefully it'll be enough to actually kill that. The pound cake will swing back this way, whereas the biscuit is basically in the thick of everything. I'll have him swing this way to face this one. Okay, so there's now more than 12, and the biscuit's taking a pounding. Although not really, it's still got plenty of shields left. So I'm going to have the biscuit wheel around this way. Man, they're coming out of the woodwork, aren't they? Did not see this wing of 4. A side note, this one's now dead. I wasn't even paying attention to it. So I'll have the jam swing back around to hopefully help with targets. The pound cake will keep moving forward in this direction. Actually, you know what? I'll have it swing back a little bit over this way. So that way, hopefully, the port arc will take in multiple enemies. And I'll actually put the biscuit down slightly, so that way hopefully you don't slam into anything and get stopped. Whereas the honey moves this way. Okay, so the biscuit has been taking a pounding. Its shields are, I wouldn't say fine, because they are getting lower and lower. I mean, it only has a recharge rate of 0.08. It's not like it's recharging relatively quickly. You'd think it only starts recharging at 40. So let's actually goose the power a little bit more. Put engines down to 20%, weapons to 30, and then half the power will be to shields. Hopefully that will... Okay, so now recharge rate is 0.1 per second. Of course, that does mean that it moves slower and doesn't move and it's not as agile, which is probably not a good thing, especially considering it's the Nautilid. But anyway, I'll try to have the biscuit circle around so that way it can keep shooting things. Pound cake will keep moving in this arc to hopefully keep everything in its port side. The honey will just simply fly in straight like a madman, as will the jam. The jam is further back because he was off doing his own thing. And let's actually angle the jam slightly this way. See if we can start engaging this injured krill. Alright, so Jinx is asking what they want, and our character, should have mentioned Valor on Dice, is we're assuming... you're assuming these squids are capable of thinking. And then Jinx replies with, they'd have to be out here for a reason though, right? They wouldn't just be wandering cold space looking for a snack. I can't say that I rightly know. As long as they keep shooting at us, I'm happy to keep shooting right back. Keeps things nice and easy for you then. Just how I like it. A little bit of banter between the bridge crew. Alright, so... I mean, I do want to keep having the pound cake move in this circular arc to keep at least something in its side arcs, but I don't know if these asteroids are just set decoration, or if I actually fly into them, they'll cause the pound cake damage. Speaking of damage, the shields are running low for the biscuit. So I'll goose the left shield slightly. And drain the top shield a little bit, so that way everything's at least 15. And I'll have the biscuit angled this way. You know what? I'll have him do I want to say have him do a sharp turn, but these guys will probably fly out of his forward arc anyway. You know what? Let's have him going this way. Hopefully these guys will fly past the biscuit and either end up in the aft arc, or just outside. It'll stay out of their arcs completely. As for the honey, I'm sorry, the jam, there's still this healthy Nautilid back here, so once again I have a swordfish on its own little turning warp, and then the honey will swing back this way. Alright, let's see how this goes. Now, it would be nice if you could actually just simply order them to attack specific targets. So I think this Nautilid is dead now. And I'll have the pound cake swing back around this way. Hopefully this Nautilid gets done in by the pound cake's starboard batteries. The biscuit will be flying in this direction. And since he seems to be taking the most beating, okay, let's order off a missile strike. Since you're completely healthy and you're right there, you're going to be the target. So I said I can't easily replace the missiles. Never said I would never actually use them. Which way is this thing facing? Alright, so it's going to go this way. So I should have the jam swing slightly this way. Hopefully it'll keep it in its arc regardless of which way it turns. And then the honey looks like it ended up behind all the nautilids. I'll just have them swing this way. And now we see who dies. Missile away. Okay, that's actually a kill. Alright, so the nautilid that was over here, I'm not certain if it actually died. I wasn't actually paying attention. The one that got hit by the missile certainly did. So we'll have the honey swing back over this way. The biscuit moves here. Of course, now they're all around the pound cake, and looks like they'll be quickly moving into its aft arc, where it doesn't have any weapons. So we'll have the one swing this way, and then the jam chases after this nautilid. Let's actually zoom out a little bit more so that way I can see everything. And let's go. So I do have one krill near death, another slightly injured, one healthy, another slightly injured, and another one slightly injured. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I guess 5 left so far. Alright, so since the jam is flying off right now into its own little direction, I'll have them swing back into the fight. The biscuits, have it turn this way. Hopefully get more of the nautilids into its arc. The honey will swing this way. Did I call the other one the honey, or did I actually call it by its actual name? I don't actually remember. And then the pound cake will move here. Hopefully it'll keep this nautilid in its firing arcs until it actually dies. Alright, so let's continue. And it's dead. On the plus side, the pound cake can actually fire both its facings independently. So now there are 3 left. So I'll have the pound cake move here. Hopefully, I think the green means that's the front. So hopefully it's traveling in this direction. So it should stay within the arc of the pound cake. Although that might be too steep of a turn and it'll end up outside of the arc. Whereas with the biscuit, I'll just have it keep moving forward because, actually, I'll turn slightly this way. Hopefully keep these guys in its forward arc. Come on. Jam will swing this way, and the honey will... I'll have the honey swing around this way, because if the green does mean its front, that means that they're going this way. So they'll either turn this way or turn this way. And now we see who dies. Alright, so green is in fact the front. However, the honey missed. They did a tighter turn than I thought they would. So I'll have the honey swing back around. The jam will swing this way. The biscuit will swing back over here, and then the pound cake will turn this way. Alright, so they did manage to kill yet another one. And this one's severely injured, so we'll have the pound cake turn this way to hopefully keep it in its arc. The biscuit will do a hard turn here. Or not really hard turn, a dramatic turn, I guess. Hard turn, I guess, would be doing that. But it's more of an open turn. I'll try to have the swordfish turn into where the nautilids are hopefully going to go. And if not, then I guess we do one more turn. Alright, so they managed to kill this Nautilid, but not this one. And everybody's actually behind, well, this Nautilid's behind pretty much everybody except the Pound Cake. So we'll have the Pound Cake turn, well, barely any, just to keep it in the arc. Everything else, well, the Biscuit will do a hard turn, and everything else will just simply swing around. And hopefully, I think this is the last Nautilid. Of course, if I keep the jam on that trajectory, it's going to fly into the Biscuit, and that's never a good thing. So I'll have him go here. I think that's everything so far. And it's dead. Alright, so we make a report to Nav Security, or Navy Security. Let's see, NavSec, we found more Nautilid on the way to a secondary salvage site. Nautilid presence noted, Commander. The salvage crew at Liberty 2 site were attacked in your absence. Oh no, so we should have protected it. Casualties, minor collateral, and the salvage operation was terminated. Surviving crew is en route to DM 2, your presence is required at the secondary salvage site. So because we decided to press on to the second sub, can't help but fear there's some bad luck following us around. I couldn't comment on that, Commander. Nav points to the secondary salvage site have been pushed to your deck. On our way. So, as I said, branching storyline, and I decided to make a choice, and I wanted to secure the site that hasn't been secured, that involves the newer, shinier ship, and as I suspected, somebody came through and attacked the salvage engineers, because we weren't guarding them, and relief hadn't showed up yet. But life is a matter of choices, and war skill is now flagged as aggressive, and we're at 5.3. I'm not entirely certain what war skill is for or what it does, but I believe it affects things like dialogue and various options. So we basically fought a bunch of krill. Let's see, the Pound Cake took out 4 of krill, lost 19 shields, and did 64% damage. Well, tell me any of those. I'll just click here. The Biscuit, by contrast, killed 5 krill and lost 1/3 of its shields, whereas the Honey did not actually take out anybody, and the Jam took out 2 and lost 8% of its shields, whereas the Honey lost 14. So the Honey helped. It's not about who gets the most kills, it's about surviving to the end of a good mission completion. Let us proceed. Oh, and it took 17 turns too. So, salvage crew was attacked, so this is, I guess, the debriefing for the mission we didn't do. And I guess this is a transcript of us leaving, so I'm assuming this is K-Lab 2 is the salvage crew. We're sitting ducks out here, Dice. And Naval Strike Group 7, that's us. I said I was sorry, Captain. What else do you want from me? The salvagers say we shouldn't have to work with provisional officers. We're a professional ministry licensed operations team. When we dock back at DM2, and I'm taking this straight to Rear Admiral Henderson, it's our blood you'll be explaining to him. He's going to... and then we respond with, cut the channel, Haven. I think the transport captain has thoroughly made his case. And then the channel was closed. So basically, the guys who we should be protecting but didn't got all angry. In the meantime, head of the our next job is head of the class. So I don't actually know if it branched out here and then both would have gone to head of the class, or if I completed the other mission, if I would have gotten something else. What's this? Stash Modus MNC. Stash Modus declare lost satellite assets to board. for immediate release, Modius Wing, Statch Modius Satellite Relay SMR 6023 has been declared a spoiled asset and is no longer a functioning benefit to the Ministry. It's understood a single contractor casualty occurred on board the relay. A full liability assessment was conducted and reviewed by the Ministry Board prior to notification of the casualty's family. Director William Statch has no comment on this release. I'm assuming this is just flavor text for what we did. It doesn't say anything about Modius here, so I'm not certain if this relates to what we did or just something elsewhere. Apparently this is our war scale as well, so we're currently defensive at 9. So I guess the more aggressive we are, the less defensive we be, and then it eventually starts being aggressive. So I guess rather than just jumping back and forth, I should decide how I want the war scale to be and pick an option. So anyway, next mission. Head of the class, mission description neutral. So it may not actually affect the war scale here. The NGs say he wouldn't have lasted long. A chance breach in the hull above the Bridgeport joints knocked out the vacuum seals around the reactor lines, resulting in a near instantaneous fuel combustion event. No registered escape pod launches, docking bays locked from the outside, no one aboard survived. Doesn't seem like the way Dale was supposed to go out. Sounds more like, well, what should have happened to me. The barrel scraper of the class. There's a dozen marks popping up on the radar, tight formation, so more likely squids than scabs. I can't even begin to imagine what they're doing out here. We'll keep them out of Dale's wreckage. Protect the picking crew as they salvage the Nemo 4 wreckage. So I'm guessing this is another group of salvage engineers heading off to Dale's Corvette. And we have to defend them, much like we had to defend the other crew 2 missions ago now. Let us proceed. Alright, and again... Okay, I had 50 points available originally, now it's down to 31. That or it wasn't 50 and was just the same, so... Apparently I'm not getting any reinforcement points, so I can't buy new ships. So basically, the same fleet is the same fleet. I mean, I'd swap out one of the swordfish for the swordfish I'm not using, but every captain gains experience, and all these ships are level 2, whereas this one is not level 2. He's lower than level 2.
There's only one level below level 2.
And I'm sure later on, once these 2 fish are dead, and the only one I have left to rely on is this guy, I'm going to wish that he was at a higher level. But that's an issue for not right now. Let's proceed. Head of the class. No, these look like raiders, actually. Defend the salvage crew. NavSec, we have visual on Nemo 4. Salvage operations already underway. At least a dozen marks forward of the bow. Looks like Nautilid Commander. Yeah, I see them too right here. Alright, Strike Group. First Ranger to take a hit from a squid owes me a... Commander, more marks incoming on our 6. Friggin, those are raider trails. Weapons left. We're not going to be taken by surprise today. End transmission. Haven't figured out pitch up and down yet. Nothing to repair. This is the fleet. Or the strike group, as I should say. Okay, so this is the salvage crew. This is the guy we're going to have to keep alive. And we have, looks like, 3 raiders, probably, hopefully of swordfish design. And... at least 4 Nautilid. Maybe more, because first, originally I only had to deal with 4 Nautilid, and then it turned out to be 8 Nautilid, and then it turned out to be 16 Nautilid. Alright, so these are the guys we're going to have to keep alive, so... and they can't change their energy around, otherwise I'd put it completely into shields. But they're going to go into their own little turning thing, going that way. Okay, now I have to decide who's the bigger threat, 3 raiders or 4 Nautilus. You know what? I'm going to split the force, so... The raiders, I think, are harder to kill, whereas the Nautiloids are more numerous, and there's probably going to be more of them. But I'm going to have the Pound Cake do a hard turn around, and as well will the Jam. So they're going to fight the raiders, 2 versus 3, whereas the Biscuit and the Honey will swing around to engage the Nautilus. Yeah, that sounds like a plan. Some kind of plan. Hopefully it looks like a plan. Let's go. Alright, so somebody took a shot, and I think it was the Jam. So I'll have the Jam swing back around this way. The Pound Cake goes here. Just get the firing arcs active. So I'm assuming the raiders are just going to stream in this way. Salvage crew does a hard turn this way. Biscuit moves here, as does the Honey, because the Nautilus are coming this way. In fact, I actually angle them slightly more this way, to hopefully they fly into the arcs. Yeah, now we see who dies. Okay, so the Pound Cake and the Honey have begun to engage the raiders, and it looks like they're making a streamline for the salvage ship. So salvage ship's going to turn this way, and the Jam and the Biscuit, I'm not certain if the Nautilus are actually moving. They're going to turn this way. And it looks like the Jam has ended up flying past the raiders, so I'll have the Jam swing around this way. And the Pound Cake will turn this way. Hopefully it'll keep at least 1 raider into its arc. Have the salvage ship fly this way. Alright, let's go. Okay, so somebody's over here as well. More Nautilus. So basically the salvage ship is not flying in a circle near here. And I'll have the Biscuit turn this way. As well as order a missile strike against this one. Because there's quite a few Nautilus. Have the Honey swing back this way. And then the Jam will swing this way, and the Pound Cake will go here. It looks like they took a hit to the right shield, although they got plenty of shields. Still, max it out a little. And also sacrifice a little bit engine power to get shield starting to recharge. Goose the forward shield a little bit on the jam. Essentially do the same. Of course, now its engine arc isn't as it won't move as far, so I'll do it. Have it move an elongated swing this way. It looks like the Raiders are pointed off in this direction, so they're flying towards the pound cake. So I should actually angle the pound cake slightly this way. See if this one flies into the ion cannon arc, whereas these fly into its starboard arc. But anyway, they should be leaving the salvage vessel alone. Of course, the nautilids are streaming in towards that, and I already handled these guys, so now let's see what happens. Okay, so the utility ship lost all of its left shields. That's not good. Try to even out all of its shields. And I'll have it move this way. And I wasn't paying attention. I don't know if that missile actually hit something. Although there now are 2 dead nautilids, so I'm assuming it did. So I'll have the Honey swing back around this way. The Biscuit will swing in this way to hopefully cover the salvage vessel. I mean, its forward arcs wouldn't hit anything, but hopefully something in its aft arc will. Looks like the Honey actually... This is the Honey or the Jam? The Jam actually flew into a Raider, so now it's not moving forward and its front shield is offline. So if we siphon off everything just to give it something, take a little off the top as well, keep the back the same. Have slightly better shields all around, and hopefully, since I'm not certain if this Raider is actually inside its forward arc or not, or if it's the Jam, I should say, is in its arc, but either way, they're just going to stand there looking at each other. I'll move the pound cake around this way. Hopefully it'll keep at least this Raider in its arc, if not just keep welling on this guy. At least a little bit. Since it's not moving either, it's probably just going to, well, sit there as it leaves the arc. Of course, all the Raiders are now pointed at the salvage vessel, so that's going to be interesting. Alright, now we see who dies. Alright, and so now the hull is at 60%. And it lost its right shield now. So, oh, there's even more nautilid over this one. So I'll have the Biscuit swing back over this way. And I'll order yet another strike. Where am I looking at? I want these two. Okay, let's go for the healthy one. Missile strike that guy. And move the Honey back over this way. Alright, this Raider's now on fire. And the Honey and the Jam can now move. Although it's at 87% hull. So it took some shots. But I'll have the Jam swing this way. And the Pound Cake will just keep going this way. I don't know if it will actually plow into this Raider or not, but if anything, it should keep the Raiders in being shot at. then we move the utility ship here, and now we see if it survives yet another turn. Everybody's just shooting at the thing. And it looks like the missile missed. That or it's swinging around to hit the honey. So I'll move the biscuit back over this way. Utility vessel goes here, because the raiders are heading off in this direction, so it's probably not the best idea. Swing the gem back over this way. He's going to need it to fight the Nautilids. And then the pound cake will do a hard turn here. Hopefully the raiders will get back in its arcs. And the honey will swing this way. How's everybody's shields looking? I mean, this thing's shields, right shield is collapsed again. So let's pull from the top and the rear. And let's actually pull a point from the front to just get the right shield a little bit higher. Alright, you're going off this way. Alright, now we see what happens. Right, so I have absolutely no idea if any of the raiders were actually taken out. Doesn't look like it because this raider still is at 100% hull. This raider's at 100% hull, and this one's at 21. And I think this is the one that collided with the jam. And the salvage ship has lost its shields yet again. Running out of shield points, that's what I'm doing. Have it go a little bit lower and then keep moving forward. Swing the jam back around this way to hopefully fight this raider. The pound cake will move over here to hopefully engage these two. I don't even know what this missile's doing anymore. The honey will swing around, back around this way. Whereas the biscuit goes here. And I'll order another missile strike against this guy because he's right there. Alright, so they're really going to town against the salvage vessel. It's now at 34% hull, and it's got almost no shields left. Swing the pound cake back around this way. The honey will, well, sorry, the jam, I keep getting the two confused, move this way. I'll have the salvage vessel turn this way to hopefully get away from the raider, although I don't expect that'll happen. You know, I'm going to move the biscuit back in. As will the... I'll drop the honey a tether because I think it's actually going to plow into this missile if I'm not paying attention. Or not. I think the missiles are still flying around. Okay, so move the honey back over this way. And now we see if the salvage ship vessel dies. Okay, so the missiles actually hit. Give the Nemo 4 a good show, strike group. Show them that they weren't downed in vain. Didn't think you were religious, Commander. Just recognizing a debt I owe. Wasn't your fault they were attacked out here. I mean, she did sleep in. But it was my fault they were out here alone without Tension. Tenson, that's the commander from the other ship, to back them up. Least I can do is sink the muckrackers picking at their bones. End transmission. Well, right now, the only muckracker picking at anything is everybody piling in on the salvage vessel, now at 25% health. And I literally have no shields left to pull from. So you go this way, Pound Cake goes this way, Jam moves back over here, the Biscuit just keeps going forward. Oh wow, the honey shields are somewhat depleted. Redistribute power so that way shields start recharging. Swing the honey back around. Now let's fire off a countermeasure at where the salvage vessel is going to be. I know it's supposed to stop missiles, but I don't know if it will actually cause problems with the Raiders' laser targeting system for their guns. On the plus side, nothing shot at the salvage vessel. I think the countermeasure is still in place. Yeah, it's still got next to no shields everywhere. And at 25% hull. So you know what, I'll have it keep turning. Pound Cake will turn this way to hopefully get everybody back in its forward and its side arcs. The Biscuit will move this way. The Jam will move this way to hopefully start tracking this guy. This is a dead Nautilid. This Krill is injured. And the Biscuit is losing its right shield. So we'll just siphon off everything back here, as well as juice its shields. Have the honey swing back around because it's basically flying into the Nautilid right now. A whole lot of Nautilid. Okay. Not certain if splitting up the strike group was a good idea, truth be told. But, oh well. Moot point now. And now we see what happens. On the plus side, they're going after the Pound Cake, which is a good thing. I mean, I'd rather they go after my ships than the mission critical ones. So this Raider is now lost its complete front shield. Of course, I think its front shield has always been out because that's the one that rammed into the honey, I think. Whichever one slammed into one of my swordfish. That's this guy. And so Or not, because it's at 80% hull, and I think the guy who got slammed in is currently on fire, so he's this guy. So I'll have the jam swing around slightly here. The biscuit will just keep plowing straight forward, and the pound cake will turn. And the honey will also keep moving forward. I don't know also if the raiders and the nautilid will fight each other. What's this? Oh, stun. Say, what's this word here? Hard to tell when I'm sitting far enough away and I can't really see. Although this raider is taking a beam. Maybe they are going after each other. I don't know. But now we see what happens. Somebody died. Alright, so that's one dead raider. Because my 4 ships are still here. Yep, raider, dead. Okay, cool. Alright, so one raider down. This other one, have the jam swing back around this way. The honey will angle to intercept this raider as well. Pound cake I'll actually have turn towards the nautilid. And then the biscuit will do a hard turn to hopefully start attacking this raider. Whereas the salvage vessel will keep turning this way. Okay, so 2 of my ships will quickly plow into each other if I don't do anything about it. So up the honey back goes, and swing back over this way. Biscuit will move here. So I think the jam is actually lower than everybody. Another good reason why everybody should be on their own plane, so that we don't fly into each other. Have the pound cake turn. And the salvage vessel keeps going into its hard circle. And we'll see if this does anything. Alright, well they certainly took a beating on this raider. Wasn't really paying attention to everything off over here. I mean, it doesn't look like they're fighting each other. This raider still has 47% shield and 77% hull, which is what it was at beforehand. So I'll have the pound cake turn this way to hopefully get this arc into everything. The biscuit will chase after this raider. And then I'll have the swordfish swing around this way. And the salvage vessel just keeps turning. And now we go. Right, on the plus side, I think somebody killed off this nautilid. Yeah, this krill is now dead. So, next closest thing to the salvage vessel is gone. I'll have the pound cake swing back around this way. Have the biscuit swing over this way to hopefully keep this raider in its sight, because it's the next closest threat. And the swordfish will just keep heading off in this direction. Where'd that other raider go? Oh, there it is. Oh, maybe they are fighting each other. I mean, its shields are now down to 42%, and I'm not seeing nearly as many krill. Of course, I'm not actually paying attention to over here because the mission critical guy is over here, and I need to keep him alive. So, unless my ships are over here, or they're taking fire from over here, which they probably actually are, I don't really much care what happens over here until, well, they move on to somewhere I do care about. In the meantime, let's proceed. Alright, so I have it zoomed out just so that way I can have a better grasp of everything that's going on, because there have been a lot of times in these past missions where I've been fully zoomed in and I'm not paying attention to everything. Like, for instance, there were 2 nautilids, now there aren't. This guy now has 3% hull left, and this one has still at 49% hull but 10% shields. So I'll have the biscuit keep chasing after that one. The pound cake keeps moving off in this angle to hopefully keep this raider in its sights. I'll move the honey back over this way to hopefully keep targeting this raider, whereas the jam keeps this raider in its sights. Hopefully it'll kill it. I don't know where its shield strength is. Alright, looks to be top, bottom, and I think right shields, but it's only got 2% hull left, so hopefully this turn it dies. Then I just have this one naval remaining, as well as this raider. There goes that raider. Alright, so I'll have the jam swing back in to fight this raider. Not raider, the remaining nautilid. The honey will try to get ahead, or at least facing the remaining raider, and the biscuit will keep chasing after that. And the pound cake will... What will I have the pound cake do? Pound cake will do a hard right turn. Hard left turn. See if I can get its port arc onto this raider. Whereas the salvage vessel keeps turning. Alright, the Nautilus wants to remind me that it's still in the fight. I'm gonna say, what ship has almost no shields, but it's the salvage vessel still. I don't think its shields recharge. But the remaining raider now has 5% hull shields and 1% hull, and it's flying straight into the pound cake. So I'll have the pound cake veer off this way, although they'll still probably collide with each other. And I'll max out its right and left shields. Sorry, its rear and left shields. Now if it does hit, it hits a fully shielded side. Same with the bottom and the top. That pulls from the other two sides I want maxed out. There we go. And then I'll pull the honey off to shoot at the nautilid. And the jam won't move as far because it's pretty much, I think, in front of the nautilid right now. The nautilid may be flying off in this direction, so I'll angle the jam slightly this way. And now we see what happens. Okay, so it did, I think, plow into the pound cake, but the pound cake is at full health and shields. And the raider wasn't, so it died. And they killed off the nautilus as well. So all hostile marks cleared, commanders. Secondary wreckage site has been secured. Any further nautilid activity, Commander? Nothing left to see of the little squids. Commandant, if unlucky, they'll be the last. Noted. You should know that Lieutenant Danny Bridge has been released for medical assessment, has been assigned to his previous seat as communications officer of NSG-7. Who's Danny Bridge? He's already prepared to join you on the next operational launch when we return to Delta Mark III Deployment Bay. When you return to the Delta Mark III Deployment Bay. Does that mean Valoran is staying on as commander of the strike group? Until otherwise relieved. Well, how about that? Alright, so it sounds like we may have actually finished this chapter, and we're getting an extra crew. As I said, I'm not certain if I actually said that, but the flagship has its own bridge crew. Right now it's just two. Valoran Dice, the commander of the strike group, basically us, and Haven Jinx, our pilot, weapons officer, I don't remember. There's also Henderson, but he's basically our dispatch officer. He's basically sitting back at wherever Naval Command is and basically relaying orders from them to us, and our messages of cursing out command back to command. Okay, so the Pound Cake killed 4 more. This is a Pound Cake, yeah. Pound Cake killed 4 more threats, one of them being a raider, and lost 32% of its shields. The Biscuit killed 5 things, and it took out all the krill. So I guess maybe it was a good idea to actually split up strike group. Even though the salvage vessel is now practically a burning wreck and there's only about a quarter of it left, with almost no shields, it's still alive. The enemies aren't. The Honey managed to get a kill this round, as did the Jam. The Jam blew up a raider, whereas the Honey took out a krill. So the Biscuit lost 23% of its shields, Honey lost 37%, and the Jam lost 41%. I also took 5 hull damage, because I believe that was the one that flew into the raider. War skill is now at 7.8, but we're still defensive. Let's proceed. Alright, so new flagship commander, Ludo Dairy Bridge. So if we actually go to crew skills, so this is the crew. And much like the war skill, everybody can be set to passive or offensive, or aggressive, or defensive and aggressive, I think it is. And the bridge crew affects... Oh, there he is. Let's say, where is he? So now he's there, and he only has 1 level and 1 skill. So he can either be a coward, which is his aggressive skill for some strange reason, which is... Relieve 5% of the flagship bias to fleet. I have no idea what that does. Or it can go defensive, where it's 10% flagship bias, and he can be enthusiastic or anxious. So basically, he is a worrywart, I'm guessing. Apparently, he's good friends with Haven, or Haven. Yeah, mildly friendly, and then we're actually mostly hostile with our gunneries ensign, as well as with our communications officer. But I have Haven set to basic training defensive for basic training and offensive for drop ping. So it gets an extra 5% weapon damage and 5% flagship shields. Whereas Valorant is basically set completely to completely aggressive, but I believe it all affects naval speed. Plus, the crew gets their own little bonus, and having it set up, well, between Haven and Dice, or Jinx and Dice, I should say, get me an 11 plus engine boost. And if I switch off anything, well, now it's 15% engine boost, and they become better friends, because rather than getting 10% movement speed, flagship movement speed, and 10% offensive war scale, I get 5% flagship shields and 10% defensive war scale. And if I flag it this way, we become better friends with Dairy Bridge, but we're still moderately friendly with Jinx. Of course, that takes the engines down from 15% to 14%, but we do get a little bit extra flagship shields. Not that we kind of need it. The frigate has the most shields out of everything in the strike group. And if we do this, everybody hates us again, and we get more bonus shields, but engines are slower, so... I mean, I'm definitely on better terms with the rest of the crew this way. Of course, if I put drop ping to defensive, we get more shields but less weapon damage. But apparently, Dice likes it more. I mean, it doesn't really affect anything. It's basically swapping out one bonus for the other. So it's like now it's 10% flagship shields. Now it's same thing, just from 2 different sides. But the thing is, the lines over here are green, so. Alright, so this isn't changing really anything, and I'm not quite certain what flagship bias is, but I'm guessing that means that people are targeting the flagship more, and it's the frigate, so it has basically better hull and better shield, so if anything's going to take a beating, it probably should be the big ship. Whereas here, the flagship bias gets spread to everywhere else, so I'm assuming people don't shoot at the flagship as much. But let's keep it as enthusiastic. As I said, big ship probably should be the one people are shooting at. Alright, so with all that done, it's good to have you aboard, Ludo. I'm sorry about tension. I really am. You won't be a dice if you didn't endanger everyone else around you. Okay, clearly he doesn't like us. Hey, that's not fair, says Jinx. We tried to return to the Liberty as soon as we could. After the stories I heard about some of the other grads, I didn't expect you of all people to be all talk and no trigger. You're already turning out more of the same as your dad. I mean, we didn't get back to his old ship, and it kind of got blown up around him, so I guess he has a little bit right to be angry. Vice Admiral Dice is a war hero. His humanitarian representation on the executive board is a necessity against, which completely explains why a bunch of gunned-up reactionaries are now targeting his daughter, right? Because his political stalemating is so incredibly moderate and caring, and not a burden on the actual oversight of a frontier colony whatsoever. I think he's being sarcastic about that. So like, leave it happen. Lieutenant Derrybridge understandably needs some space to settle into his new post, and he hasn't necessarily said anything that isn't untrue. We can at least give each other some time to adjust after the Liberty's sinking. If nothing else, rostering us together proves the Admiralty's sixth sense of humor, and they're not the type to have a joke finished too quickly. Sir. Sir. End transmission. Okay, so we now have Inquiry as the Hunted, required war scale defensive 1, or the Shipbuilder's Yard, required war scale nothing. And our war scale is actually 17 defensive. So we once again have two different missions. One's the Shipbuilder's Yard, where Naval Command is requesting any undirected fleet groups to reform around DM2 and clear out the Nautilus showing up around the shipyards. Defensive rosters are coming through from NavSec. Priorities haven't gone beyond Condition 3, so no one's taking the reappearance of the squids too seriously yet. AK can't tell me, I'm not quite certain who AK is, can't tell me if there's been any updates from the Ranger units. Walking None, I can't pronounce anybody's name apparently, has out beyond the settlement line. The Admiralty has been surprisingly quiet about the Nautilus return. I would have thought we'd be sirens and alarms by now. Stiff upper lip, I guess. What if they're wrong, though? The squids start reappearing in bigger numbers. We might just see the start of the first major live operation since Dad's war. And trust him to be AWOL from the boardwalk right when the squids start invading again. Whatever. Stop the Nautilus from getting too close to the shipyards. Leave the rest to someone else with the pay grade to match. Or I can do Inquiry as the Hunted. The executive board spin machine is working overtime to prove, disprove, factualize, and canonize the insurgent attacks on NSG-7 as freak incidents with some leftover Nautilus holding over from the first contact. Someone somewhere deep in that machine thinks it's better to have people believe in the statistical anomaly of returning squids rather than an extremist group that is armed and targeting command forces. The ministries are applying pressure to conduct an internal investigation, and Coalition Command is looking for a fleet commander to lead it. As long as I don't dock at Delta Mark II, I still qualify as a strike group commander, and technicality, but it'll work. No one in the Admiralty is happy about my applying to lead this investigation, but they can't deny that I'm the only one with first-hand experience with these guys. With every other commander rushing off to avoid the ethical ambiguity of dealing with terrorists, it looks like I'm the only option they've got. Surprisingly, AK has been pretty helpful in selling this point. This comment could turn out to be useful to have around. I guess AK is the dispatcher, whose name currently escapes me. Useful to have around, despite his inability to crack a smile. My gut tells me this investigation is supposed to be a little more sensitive than a flush out and cleanup of some reactionary gun nuts from the briefing application. Thorough knowledge of the political status between executive board ministry branches and the satellite interest groups is a requirement of the rostered commanding officer. I'm not sure who we're going to find holding the gun at the end, but Finnegan, I'm looking forward to returning the favor to the muckers that sunk Dale and Tension. So those are my two options. Basically, defend the shipyard, which I'm assuming is what DM2 is, from the Nautilids, or go out hunting more raiders, apparently. However, this video is rather long as it is, so rather than picking which mission, much like last episode, I'm going to leave this choice for next time, and I'm going to call it here.
Everybody stay safe from the plague, and have a good day.